All the warnings were true. All the predictions fulfilled. Chaos ruled. But that was not the worst. Once the honorable banner of a school of martial arts, the flag of the Southern Cross, is now the fearful symbol of a new order. The sign of the North Star, symbol of the last opposing school, is freedom's only hope. Kenshiro, my son. I know your anguish. I feel your conflict. How can you wander in the wasteland while the world waits for you to fight the oppressor? How can you deny your destiny?
In April of 1995, the live-action movie based on the anime and comic book series arrived on the big screen in Japan, but everywhere else it went straight to home video and Laserdisc due to many negative reviews at the time. Orion Pictures had offered to pick up the movie for distribution in the United States, but I believe the producers weren't too happy with Orion's offer, so it went straight to home video. It cost around $7 to $8 million, so they had intended it for a cinema release. Some distributors at the time weren't happy with the level of gore in the movie and wanted cuts made. I believe the original release runs at 103 minutes, where the US and UK cuts were about 5 to 8 minutes shorter. There is a possibility the Japanese version is longer, but I'm not sure. Gary Daniels, who plays Kenshiro, had mentioned some other scenes were removed due to violence, so the end product is a bit tame on its gore considering its rating. The Japanese release was dubbed over with the original anime cartoon voices, so to hardcore fans that version may be more enjoyable to a certain degree. The director Tony Randall had previously directed Hellraiser 2, Children of the Night and Ticks. He wanted full control over the look of the film and filmed it all in a studio. So there is no major location shots apart from the odd alleyway scene. He did say the look he went for upset the anime fans, but he felt a lot of the imagery was lifted directly from the graphic novels. Yes, granted, there are a few images I've noticed that looks similar to the animated movie. Fist of the North Star, or Hokuto no Ken as it's known in Japan, first came out in comic book form in the early 80s. It was inspired by Mad Max, and the character Kenshiro being heavily inspired by Bruce Lee. Due to its popularity, they produced a cartoon series based on the comic. Hokuto no Ken was first adapted into a weekly anime series by Toei Animation under the title Legend of the Century's End Messiah. The series aired on Fuji Television in October of 1984 to March of 1987, lasting 109 episodes. It was immediately followed by a second series, which aired from March of 87 to February of 88, lasting for additional 43 episodes, a combined total of 152 episodes between both series. The first 36 episodes of the first series were translated and dubbed by Manga Entertainment in 1999, although only the first 24 episodes were released on VHS. All 36 episodes of the dubbed version were aired on TV in the United States and in the UK on the Sci-Fi Channel, and were later released on individual DVD volumes in 2003. In 2008, Toei Animation produced official subtitle-only translations of all 152 episodes, which were released on various paid download and video streaming websites. In 1986, Toei Animation decided to produce a feature film based on the series, produced by the same staff and cast who worked on the TV series. The movie adapts the storyline of the manga from the beginning and up to Kenshiro's first fight with Raoul, taking several liberties with the order of events and how the story unfolds. The animation was a bit more sleeker than the cartoon series and a lot more gorier. An English dubbed version was produced in 1991 and in 1994 in Europe and Australia by Manga Entertainment. The English dub isn't the best and critics and fans weren't too impressed, so I stick with the original Japanese release with English subtitles. Fist of the North Star is full of recognisable actors, but cast in strange roles. You have Malcolm McDowell playing the father of Kenshiro. He has appeared in so many bad films, but it doesn't seem to affect his career. You have Chris Penn playing Jackal, who I swear is called Jaggy in the comics and cartoon, but they may have changed him with another character's background or something, but his performance is laughably bad, but he does have some of the funniest lines in the film.
It ain't easy being sleazy.
Dante Basco, who many may know as Rufio from Hook, plays Bat, and I suppose his costume design does resemble his comic book counterpart. The character Lynn has been changed in this film. She was originally mute, but in the movie she can't see. I have no idea why they decided to change that. There are a few characters that kind of resemble their comic book counterpart and I suppose act a bit like them, but it's all very loosely adapted. So I think fans struggle to even care about any of the characters, and it's missing loads of important ones like Kenshiro's adopted brothers. The writer and director cut out a lot just to focus on the love triangle of Kenshiro, Shin and Julia. But what everyone remembers from this film is Gary Daniels as Kenshiro. Gary is a British martial artist who came to my attention in the Jackie Chan film City Hunter. He played one of the main henchmen. He blew me away with his abilities, but also the Street Fighter 2 spoof really impressed me and is way better than the Van Damme film. He has starred in many B-movie flicks, but never really got that mainstream attention, which is disappointing because he's a far more talented martial artist than say Van Damme and Steven Seagal. This is probably his biggest role, but due to the direction and weak adaptation of the comic, the movie didn't propel him forward to larger roles in Hollywood movies. Fist of the North Star starts with a lengthy narration by Kenshiro's father, Ryuken. The opening shot is of a desolate post-apocalyptic world with what were once our cities but are now crumbling ruins, a lawless world where acid rain falls from the sky and a strong prey on the weak. Ryuken talks of a school of martial arts named the Southern Cross. The flag of the Southern Cross is now the fearful symbol of a new order. The North Star is the last opposing school. Basically, the Southern Cross is evil and the North Star is good. The Southern Cross Master, Lord Shin, executes the Master of the North Star, Ryuken. Lord Shin also tries to kill Ryuken's son, Kenshiro. Lord Shin leaves Kenshiro for dead in the wastelands and takes his lover Julia as his own, and returns to the Southern Cross City where he rules. However, Kenshiro is not dead, and sets about finding Lord Shin and putting an end to his evil plans to liberate the wastelands by any means necessary. About 200 miles north of Southern Cross City is a small town called Paradise Valley, where they protect their most precious commodity, water. Lord Shin wants this water and sends his deformed henchmen and their gangs out to destroy Paradise Valley and take the water, led by head bad guy Jackal. Kenshiro runs into a teenager named Bat and a young blind girl named Lynn, who he magically cures with his powers. Since they both have a common problem in the shape of Lord Shin and his men, they sort of join forces to defeat him. The visual effects in the film aren't too bad. The miniature work is very interesting and helps expand the post-apocalyptic world and sets up the establishing shots. There are a couple of nice matte shots as well, but it's generally all kept to a minimum for budget reasons. With Tony Randall being a horror director, the gore effects are very effective, especially when Kenshiro gets attacked by Shin. The crew would often call Gary Condom Man due to the wounds looking like rolled up condoms stuck to his chest. Gary Daniels did want there to be a final death scene featuring gore when he defeats Shin, but the director apparently didn't want that, so the final blow to Shin is very tame, and they should have included a head exploding effect or something. With the many problems with this film, I think the score is easily the best thing about it. It's epic and expands the universe and gives the imagery more weight, and helps drive the action scenes. It was composed by Christopher L. Stone, who had worked on the Phantasm films, and also produced the music for the Dragon's Lair and Space Ace Laserdisc arcade games. The score is available but very hard to track down. The music was included with the soundtrack release of Tix. Fist of the North Star is still popular in Japan and apparently has a big following in Italy. I think most other territories it has a cult following, and has probably maintained its awareness to the public due to the recent Xbox and PS3 games. The cartoons have been spoofed and parodied over the years, but the best I've seen is dub of the North Star produced by the channel Weekly Tube Show on YouTube.
Hey kid, this car isn't that cool. All it did was blow my friend into the air. Well, I think you're just using it wrong. See, you have to jerk this thing around and drive right the fuck off. Oh, so that's how it works.
Spade! I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is I caught a mouse. The bad news is it was a wind-up mouse. Si usted abre mi saco, usted puede...
Ken, what is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. We just don't need to know what's inside the sack. It's just the principle of the matter.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown, but I think you just broke his neck.
I'll fix it later.
Fist of the North Star is a bad film, and you can clearly see when you watch it. I suppose it can fall into that guilty pleasure category. It's by no means truly awful and unwatchable, but not really that interesting. The grey and smoky visual design Tony Randall has gone for loses its appeal very quickly. You can tell the sets are very small and there's no real scale to the movie. It would have been grander and more epic if they'd shot loads of stuff in the desert. The director clearly lacks experience with action and shoots everything with close-ups. Hell, everything else in the film is shot the same. Only the establishing scenes are shot with wide angles, but granted there is some nice camera work in the movie. Gary Daniels tried his best to fight for better coverage when it came to the fight scenes, and he even choreographed battles with 10 people on screen, and then on the day when he went to shoot it, he would only have 3 people to fight. He did get to edit one battle himself, which is actually the best scene in the film, where he enters Shin's fortress. I'm a big fan of Gary Daniels, but he was clearly miscast in the movie. Kenshiro is supposed to be Japanese as well. Gary's acting is pretty bad in the film, and he even admits it in the DVD commentary. He finds it difficult to watch himself. He has certainly improved over time as an actor. He unfortunately only appears in B-movie martial arts flicks. He did appear in The Expendables as a random bad guy, and his skills are totally wasted. He should have been one of the Expendables. His martial arts talents clearly excel above everyone else. The film tries to appeal to general moviegoers, the comic book fans, and even horror fans, because of the director involved. It ultimately fails down to attempting to cover too many areas. This movie is tough to recommend to anyone really. Fans don't like it because of the poor adaptation and poor casting choices. The fight scenes don't live up to the quality you would expect from a movie of this genre. It's a film that you should seek out only if you found what I've said about the movie interesting and intriguing. It was released during the early days of adapting manga to live action, and those periods there was always more failures than success. Guyver was one of the earliest ones I remember from the 90s, and that was poorly received, but it did get a sequel which was far superior. I think if Fist of the North Star was handled by a more action-experienced director, then it would have been more entertaining on the martial arts side of things. If you live in the UK, the DVD release is definitely worth picking up, just for Gary Daniels' commentary, where he spends half the time taking the piss out of it, and it comes with a very interesting interview with him, which lasts over 40 minutes. The best way to view this film is with a bunch of mates, and when you're all drunk and pissed out your faces, it will make it a lot more entertaining.
My destiny is hate and revenge.
The choice is not yours to make. When I die, you became the Fist.
No.
What is Fist of the North Star. Don't turn your back on me!
You're already dead.